Welcome to our next digital conversation about the key concepts in your Management 102 class. What we're going to be talking about in this segment is small groups, small group dynamics, and how you can go about making better decisions when you're operating in a small group. So we're going to take a look at the advantages and disadvantages of group decision making. We're going to talk about group dynamics and how they operate. The type of groups that you may find yourself working in, the effectiveness of teams. I'm going to do a little bit in this section, and then in our other discussion around leading teams, we'll get into this in a little more detail. We'll talk about the concept of groupthink and some ways that we can deal with problems that may be occurring in different groups in which you're part of. In almost any organization that you're going to be working in, you're going to find yourself working in small groups or in teams. When we visit with people off campus about what it is they want us to develop in our graduates, they keep coming back, help them learn how to be better team members and to be more effective working in teams. And the reason organizations are going in that direction is when we try to drive change in an organization, it's more effective to introduce it if you have a group of people that are bringing the change into the organization rather than having it being driven down by one individual or an executive. We also find that while the decision making is slower, the product and the decisions that are made by groups tend to be better. And we have evidence in classes where we've run some experiments where people were allowed to work individually on a project or they're allowed to work in a group, and over time the groups tend to outperform the individual. There's also higher personal satisfaction in working within a group. There's something in the human psyche that really enjoys the connectedness with other people, and the opportunities to do that on a regular basis is invigorating. There's also higher productivity. An effective group will raise the performance of each member of that group, so as a whole the team is performing much better than an individual would alone. And there's also lower risk to individuals. If you go into management and there's 5 of you presenting an idea, no one of you is singled out if management isn't particularly responsive to what you have to say. At the very senior level, we're seeing that things are getting so complex today that single individuals or single managers or single executives just simply don't have the bandwidth to deal with the complexity. So even at the highest levels of organizations, you'll see senior executive teams that are taking on the running of the organization, and there may be a single CEO who has the ultimate decision-making power, but they're bringing groups together to try to make it more effective. So small groups, the optimum size is 5. The maximum that you want to have in a group or in a team is 12. And when we take a look at work that's being conducted in the United States, about 75% of our workforce is currently working in teams. So you may think we're abusing you on campus by putting you into teams, but we're really not. We're giving you a chance to practice. Having the opportunity to work with global companies, we also are seeing they're using cross-global, cross-functional teams to help them deal with the complexity of the issues that they're facing. So when you're put into a group or a team, they tend to be functioning in certain types or certain outcomes. One is you're put into a group to learn new information and to disseminate it within the organization. Some groups are put together so that they can work together on a very regular basis to keep things moving. And if you think about it, if there's 5 of you working on a particular project and one person becomes ill, they can keep going and no productivity is lost. And then we can use groups to solve complex problems. And we're seeing that in a whole number of sectors. In healthcare, you're seeing teams of people being brought in to very complex medical situations. In law enforcement, you're seeing teams being brought into very complex situations. And in high tech, you'll see teams, and oftentimes global teams, that are working together to solve problems. So when you're in a team, what is it that makes them effective? There's clearly certain things that you can do. Those of you in the Crimson track will be working in a team. So I'm going to be teaching you how to get organized. The second is to practice the skills that are necessary for the group to be successful. So there's competence brought into the team. The team also is continually testing to make sure they're going in the right direction. Are our assumptions right? Are our opinions right? And again, on the Crimson track, I'm going to be expecting that you'll be checking back with me on a regular basis to make sure you understand the assignment and you understand what my evaluation criteria is going to be. The group is focused on a solution or an outcome. They're not dealing with individual egos or individual perceptions. That they avoid groupthink, and we're going to talk a bit more about groupthink here in a minute. And they manage the cultural diversity within the organization. So good teams are very diverse, different perspectives, both from an intellectual development, their training, and from their national cultures. So in a team, there's various roles that are played to get the task performed. One is the giving and seeking of information task. So you want to facilitate that so that information can flow easily. You want to give and seek opinions. And we talked in another segment about quiet people, quiet personalities, quiet communication styles. The group has to draw those folks out so that they're offering their opinions. Another task is to take an idea and then expand it or elaborate on it. You also will see that one of the tasks of the group is to bring energy to the whole group. Somebody may be having a bad hair day. In that case, the group can help re-energize them and get them functioning. Another task is to review your work, to check in and see how you're doing. And then another task is to record the work that you've been doing so that you can keep passing information forward. And in today's technology, there's a number of very good tools for you to keep moving your product forward. Some other roles that take place. One is the encouragement role, where somebody in the group needs to be supporting the group. That can also be bringing food, as the video indicates that people need a break. They're tired, they're fatigued. That group can circle around them and help encourage them. You can help harmonize the group so that the behaviors are not getting off track. Somebody's role may be to relieve a tension, that if the group's getting uptight, they're feeling stressed. Somebody with a good sense of humor is a very valuable member of that team. And then somebody's a gatekeeper, and the gatekeeper's role is to regulate the flow of information into the group so that it stays manageable. We talked just a minute ago about this concept of groupthink. And in your management courses, in your HROB 101 course, you talked about groupthink, so you're probably very tuned into it. But I listed some of the symptoms that take place within a group, and you can read through them. One of them that keeps popping up is this concept of self-censorship. And that occurs when somebody in the team has an idea that may be a good idea, or they see that the group is going in the wrong direction, but some of the personalities in the team are so strong, they're unwilling to bring that out. So again, go through these. If any of them are confusing to you, come on in during our colloquial, and I'll be glad to go in greater detail. So how do we fix this disease of groupthink? One is to bring somebody from the outside in that's an expert, and they can give a different perspective of what's going on. Within the group, you can assign somebody the role of being a critical evaluator. So their job is to argue against the group and what you're doing. You also want to make sure that people are bringing facts to the table, not just opinions, and challenge people when they're stating something that is an opinion, so it can be dealt with as an opinion, not a fact. You can alternate the leadership roles within the group so that not everybody's carrying the burden of having to move the group forward all the time. And that can help unfreeze the group thinking. And then if you're a cross-functional team, have the group take what you're doing back to their home unit and share with their home unit what you're doing as a group. And they will check in and give feedback as to whether or not you're on target or you're heading in the wrong direction. So let's take a look at how we go about making decisions. And again, in your other courses, you've had management theory around decision making, so we're not going to go into this in a whole lot of detail. But this is a nice, clean model for you to be thinking about when you're presented with a problem. We ask that you scan the environment, so what's going on that's creating the problem. Then you come up with a nice, tight definition of what the problem is, and then you conduct an analysis of what's happening to try to find out what are the root causes of the problem. Then you start to establish a clear criteria for a very, very positive outcome. You then want to start to take a look at what are the alternatives that are available to us. You want to be brainstorming to get as many ideas out as you can. And there's a number of techniques a group can use. One is the brainstorming, as I just mentioned, where you just throw ideas at the wall and see what sticks. No idea is bad, you get them out, so volume and quantity is very, very important. The nominal group technique is where everybody writes their suggestions down, they're turned in, and then they're posted without any attribution to one individual. That neutralizes the emotional side of it. And then you go in and evaluate these various options that you had presented to you, and then you select the option that works best for you. So the idea is when you're making decisions, that you're making decisions that are appropriate to the context and to the problem that you're in. So become very skilled at different approaches to problem solving, different approaches to working within a group, and you're going to be a stellar employee when you get out of college.